It is 7:17 on WMAL.
So last night was the Washington's Funniest Celebrity event. This is a charity event that's put on every year, Funniest Celebrity in Washington, and raised some good money. Richard Siegel is the organizer, and we did it at the DC Improv. I was honored to be a part of it. No, not as a stand-up comedian. Listen, I know my strengths and weaknesses. I'm good at throwing out a snarky little one-liner, but I couldn't sustain 6 minutes of stand-up. That is an art. It truly is.
Snark is an art, too, though.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And when they have a snarkiest snarker in Washington, I'll compete. But
somebody was snarky, and they got in trouble for it.
I was, we're going to talk about that. I was a judge, so I was a judge, which is much better. I prefer to be judgmental of other people. And it was a great position to be in. And it was a combination of policymakers and celebrities. Ralph Nader was one of the stand-ups. He came in with a reverse baseball cap there, that's got people laughing as well. And his first of all, I have always found Ralph Nader's stump speeches hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, unintentionally, of course. I think that he was serious about it. He actually gave a pretty good routine. His delivery was very funny because it's so deadpan and so dry. He ended up with third place, which, as I remarked from my judges table, well, he's used to that. That's always ending up in third place.
See, that's snarky.
Exactly. That's my. And by the way, my fellow judge was Chef Jeff. Chef was there.
Tracy, yeah.
Jeff Tracy, and so we had a good conversation there as well. And he loves the show. Thanks, Jeff. Anyway, we continued. The whole thing continued, and I want to remind you of what happened earlier in the week when we had Grover Norquist on the show, because he was one of the contestants last night. And when we interviewed him, well, here's what happened. I am one of the celebrity judges for DC's Funniest, and yes, I do take bribes.
Did I tell you how nice you look in that tie?
That's a good start, Grover Norquist. I have nothing more to add other than to tell you that the winner of last night's DC's Funniest was none other than Grover Norquist. He actually brought it home. Yeah. He got the trophy.
Was he really funny?
He was. He was very good. He was the last one. He finished strong. He talked about airline travel, and he bashed the French. So I mean, you can never go wrong with that.
We got to talk about this other thing that happened, though.
Well, that's the thing. The real headlines coming out of last night's event. Somebody got arrested. Somebody got punched in the face. In fact, one of our colleagues in the media got punched in the face by a comedian. It was a melee. It was a scene, and our very own Heather Smith was like one table away. So she's going to tell us what happened, because I didn't see it. We'll tell you all about it. It was a mess. A brawl at the Improv last night for DC's Funniest Washingtonian. We'll get to that in just a moment.
Washington's Mall, WMAL, where Washington comes to talk.
So we're at the DC Improv last night. It's the Funniest Celebrity in Washington contest. And our colleague Josh Rogin, foreign policy journalist for the Daily Beast, Eli Lake's partner. He's a really well-known foreign policy. Just like Eli Lake has a thing for hip-hop, Josh Rogin has a thing for stand-up comedy.
All right.
And so he's in the back, and he's live tweeting this event. And there was a portion in the middle where a real-life professional comedian did a bit.
What is the name? What is it?
Dan Nainan is his name. And a big chunk of it, I mean, I was rolling my eyes because he did a whole thing. He was bashing George Bush. And I'm thinking to myself, really, 5 years later, you can't find any humor with Barack Obama? You have to go back to Bush? Josh Rogin thought the same thing. And Heather Smith, you take it from here, because you were sitting back there, right?
Mm-hmm. I was sitting in the back, and I saw some commotion out of the corner of my eye. It was towards the back doors of the theater. And I asked Derek, who was sitting next to me, what just happened? And he said, that guy just got punched twice in the face by the famous comedian.
By the comedian?
Yeah.
Wow. So, and that guy who got punched in the face was Josh Rogin. This comedian goes off stage, checks Twitter, and sees Josh Rogin said some snarky things about him. He said he was bashing him for hitting on Bush and stuff like that. The comedian goes back there, finds him, and punches him in the face.
He not once, but twice.
He looked at the tiny profile photo on Twitter and tracked Josh Rogin down
in the dark of the DC Improv.
Theater.
So are you Josh Rogin?
Right.
Yeah. Boom!
I mean, you think we're sensitive. You think we're we've got sensitive egos when people criticize us. Can you imagine this?
I don't recognize anybody on their Twitter photo in person, but somehow that guy found him and was pretty angry.
I have two thoughts about this. It's probably really surprising that reporters don't get punched more often in this town. And the second thing is all he had to do was say, yeah, I'm Josh Rogin, but I was just joshing. that would have been it.
I don't think that would have done it for this guy. See, this is why you should not be on stage at DC's Funniest Washington Celebrity. Bottom line here is the police were called. DC police showed up. They arrested Dan Nainan, this comedian, and we talked to Josh Rogin afterwards, and
that was pretty funny.
He will press charges.
When he did get punched, he then went to go tweet that he got punched,
Right.
and then the guy went in and punched him again while he was live tweeting that he was punching.
Right.
Oh my gosh!
So Josh Rogin. The good news is Josh Rogin loves the show.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I guess that's good news too. But he loves our show. He's going to come on, and we'll talk about foreign policy as well as getting punched in the face by a really mediocre comedian. Grover Norquist is funnier than Dan Nainan.